start designing, the parts to it getting made? Do you have to go minister? Do you have to go to the factories to make sure the timber pieces are cut into the right, measurements? Like, do you design things and then have to go follow through on site, or can you just it gets shipped to a different section, so you only design through the computers, but then the next stage it goes to a factory for it to be made? How does it work in Germany when you in your role?
So the engineer usually knows in advance which cross sections of material and which grade the manufacturer is using for the actual manufacturing and prefabrication process, and then the engineer does do the engineering accordingly, bearing in mind, okay, this material is actually going to be used, instead of just certifying or specifying something that the manufacturer is not going to use. And then the manufacturer has to ask the engineer, okay, can you re-specify this? So this is being collaborated on in advance to make sure that design, engineering, and the way it's being manufactured is consistent. And the collaboration and the synergy effect between those stakeholders is much more efficient in Germany. And everything follows a pretty strict order, and you avoid going back and forth to re-engineer something. So this order is pretty streamlined. And then you have your engineering, you have your plans, and then you have working drawings if needed, or you just model the whole structure in 3D right away and create more detailed manufacturing plans accordingly. So you have sometimes files that are just for the CNC machine, and the CNC machine also has a printer who can print numbers, position numbers on individual parts, and you can also have hard copies, shop drawings for the actual staff in the factory to pre-assemble certain elements, and nothing is let's say bigger than you can fit on a truck. And one company I was working for did have a 50-ton crane in the factory, so you could prefabricate elements and parts of a bridge that were up to 50 tons heavy. And you know all of those things, you know your factory layout, no matter what kind of manufacturer you are, whether it's a timber engineering company or just a residential builder. You know your factory and you know your factory process, and then the design and modeling and prefabrication process is accordingly very, very strategic, and everything is obviously easier if the design is also straightforward.
Do you ever come across moments where you have to change a design because a stakeholder says midway, or you think maybe the climate, maybe you went? Do you go like? Can people come to you with a block of land and say, "Can you build a prefabricated home for me on this block of land?" Do you then have to assess the climate to recommend what materials?
I don't have to do that. That is usually the work of the designer or architect. I think there are builders who could suggest design they have in stock as some kind of standard design or a catalog design. They could offer and say, okay, according to this lot and the orientation of the lot to the sun and the street, driveway, etc., this design might suit you a lot, and this specific location. And if it's a custom design, then the architect need to design something.
Oh, it's good that there's a catalogue of standard designs to kickstart the designing process for the client.
Did you mean specifically in Germany, or
in Germany, like
in Australia?
In Germany, like if people come to you and say build a prefabricated home, and then I take it you talk to the stakeholder, the home owner, and would people often change their mind midway for potential reasons, like they want extra space or extra room? So how does it work? Like, can you? it's okay to change the plan, yeah, when it starts building, or
If
is
you
it
have
not
enough-
recommended? You know, like it's more like you would advise that please just sign. Once you sign off, it's hard to change.
If you have enough money, you can change as
Anything.
much as you want.
But it goes back to budget, yeah. It goes back to
in-
time and budget.
Yeah. In Germany in particular, you're very limited in terms of design, and the council dictates a lot in terms of how the house is going to look like. So the overall shape, etc. If it's a new, relatively new build-up area, it's very stringent, and this is how it's going to look like. Only minor deviations can be done, and everything needs to look fairly consistent. Then there are other areas where you have existing architecture, historical buildings, etc. Then you have to be conform with those kind of construction practices and designs. But generally, it's already pre-designed, so to speak.
Yeah.
So you have little wiggle room
Yeah.
because it's supposed to be efficient, and there's no encouraging people to design a house the way they want. It's if you are rich, you can get your hands on a lot and design it the way you want.
Yeah.
But it's not common in Germany. It's a once in a lifetime achievement to acquire home ownership at all in Germany, and even before the pandemic, it was most Germans are lifelong renters, so no one is picky about choosing a fancy
Custom
design
fancies.
if home ownership itself is the ultimate goal. So
Yeah.
don't worry about the design. Just
Yeah.
have it as cost effective as possible,
Yeah.
and the rest is not
Not on the forefront of what people think about. Yeah.
It really is not.
Yeah, yeah. Now let's go back one step, because we started diving really deep on prefabrication without really giving the audience a bit of a definition for those that don't really understand what that is. Now let's talk about the important aspects of it and how Australia can adopt it, because it's less promoted here. It's a relatively new concept here. When I was reading, it was saying that prefabrication enhances precision, efficiency, cost effectiveness, and Australia can maybe adopt it by standardizing designs, investing in prefabrication technology, and reforming payment structures to support off-site construction. You mentioned, you know, even the German government subsidizes builders, right, in Germany to build sustainable homes. How do you think Australia should see the importance of this prefabrication concept, and how can Australia adopt it better?
I think, prefabrication is a great tool to facilitate efficiency and cost effectiveness and certainty. The thing is, in Australia, since the designs are often very bespoke, you cannot really tap into the real benefits of prefabrication, because the work necessary to facilitate an efficient and cost-effective prefabrication process is very time-consuming the more intricate the design is. And by the time you have set up everything for a smooth prefabrication process, you have spent so much time thinking and masterminding the whole thing in 3D, engineering-wise and manufacturing-wise, that people do not see the real benefit, especially if they do not leverage the full potential. Often prefabrication is being used rudimentarily here in Australia, and only the frames are being prefabricated instead of adding just more to the whole factory process. You could add insulation, membranes, surface cavities, and windows to your prefabricated elements. Since you already have a 3D file, you have to leverage that. You have to get as many byproducts of this virtual build in 3D as possible. If you only do the frame, you put in as much work engineering and modeling everything in 3D without leveraging all benefits. And Then there are other discouraging factors in Australia who prevent companies from adopting those prefabrication techniques, like payment structures, outdated and old payment structures. Often the release of payments to the actual client who's paying the builders, etc., are tied to traditional and outdated milestones on site, like a framing stage. And this is not really practical for a company who's prefabricating an entire building, including insulation, membranes, finishes, windows, etc. And then no one gets any money because technically the framing stage on site has not been achieved. Even though everything has been prefabricated, even most work has been done already with the engineering, with the thinking, the virtual build, everything is cut, material has been purchased, and everything is done, and still the bank doesn't release money because framing stage isn't achieved. That's really not helping. Or long-term investments necessary for a factory to do prefabrication are also not very good in terms of how do you call this period when you have to pay off a loan for an investment,
a mortgage.
Yeah,
people have mortgages here.
It does have to be paid back quite quickly, which is discouraging for a company who needs a CNC machine for $1 million, for instance, and it's not practical. It's all very short-sighted and not tailored to long-term value and growth, and this stifles the innovation in the prefabrication department. In addition to the bespoke designs, prefabrication is best when you come up with a design, an engineering, a virtual build in 3D, a manufacturing process, and then you prefabricate the same design repetitively. This would be the most cost-effective in terms of prefabrication.